Chapter 28. New Reasons to Fight. The news that Naruto and Tayayu were pregnant had spread rather rapidly. People they didn't even know congratulated them when they were doing simple things like walking to the store. To make matters more annoying, some of the women who were always flirting with Naruto were being more drastic with it. Sakura and Hinata were the worst ones, Hinata acting like Naruto had betrayed her like a husband cheating on his wife. Sakura, for some reason, was just trying harder. Naruto had come to the conclusion that since she wasn't allowed to have what she wanted, she didn't want anyone to have what they wanted. Apparently the idea that Naruto and Tayayu were in love irritated her since she wasn't loved by anyone. Currently Naruto was standing in the jewelry shop. Tayayu had elected that she wanted to take a nap, so he decided to wander around a bit. He was happy that they would have a child, but this also brought around new thoughts and wonders. He had seen older shinobi when he was younger. If they impregnated their girlfriend they usually proposed and were married by the time the baby got there. His mind ran back to the day they were informed that Jiraiya died. He had asked her what she thought of the subject. Her answer was that she wanted to wait until they were older. He couldn't help but wonder if now that the situation had changed, if perhaps her answer would have changed as well. It was times like this that he wished he still had his perverted sensei around to get advice from. Typically Naruto would do the exact opposite of what Jiraiya suggested. It usually was the right choice where Tayayu was concerned. He found a ring that he liked. It was a simple gold band with a small diamond on it, but it had 2 rubies on each side. He wondered what it was about rubies that he liked so much. His best guess was that it was Tayuya's red hair. He loved her hair. When she would sleep he often found himself running his hand through it ever so slowly, just enjoying how it feels. He smiled a little then purchased the ring. It wasn't expensive, but this was just an engagement ring. He would more than likely splurge on the actual wedding ring if she said yes to him, that is. That thought had instantly started to make him feel nervous and worry inside. He didn't want her to tell him no. He wanted her to say yes, but if she said no he wouldn't push it any further. He put the box inside of his pocket then walked home. He figured that she would be waking up here relatively soon. When she took a nap she slept only for a little while. It was when she went to bed for the night that she didn't want to ever wake up. He unlocked the door to their apartment and he knew that she was already awake since he could smell food cooking in the air. He smiled as he closed the door then walked around the corner to see her cooking in one of his shirts. It was way too big for her, but it worked when it was only them there. He slowly approached her and wrapped his arms around her carefully. Though they just found out she was in fact pregnant, he was always careful when touching her anywhere near her stomach. He would have also put into place a no-sex rule if he thought there was any way that she would actually listen to it. He saw her smile as he wrapped his arms around her, then he kissed her cheek. "How was your nap, Tayayu-chan?" She shrugged at his question. "It was all right. My firm but warm pillow decided that he would rather walk around the village than stay in bed, so I wasn't as comfortable as I usually am." Naruto smiled. "Is that all I am, Tayayu-chan, your pillow?" His red-headed goddess looked at him from the corner of her eye then smirked. "Well, it's either that or my sex toy. Which would you prefer I refer to you as?" He looked at her for a moment. "What if I suggest a different title for myself?" She rose an eyebrow at him then looked at the food. "I suppose that it would depend on what title you are suggesting." Tayayu felt as he reached into his pocket, clutching at something. She wasn't a patient person, so she reached into his pocket as well and grabbed it from him. She looked at the box. Without even opening it up she had a good idea of what inside of it. She then slowly looked back at him. "Is this what I think it is?" There was something in her voice he couldn't place. His knowledge of emotions, body language and the manner in which people spoke had increased significantly, but he was nowhere near as knowledgeable as he wished he was. He looked at her some more then slowly reached for the box, gently taking it from her hand as he looked at it for a moment longer. He put it back in his pocket. "It's nothing. I think that I will go with pillow, Tayayu-chan." Naruto placed a soft kiss on her cheek then unwrapped his arms from her and went to their room. She turned off the stove to not burn their food to follow after him. She stood in the doorway as she watched him stare at the box before putting it in his nightstand drawer. He closed the drawer slowly then looked over at her. "Is something the matter, Tayayu-chan?" She looked at him closely. "You didn't answer me. What is in the box, Naruto?" "Is it what I think it is?" Again that sound in her voice that he couldn't place was there. it worried him a bit. He looked at the drawer then sighed. It's nothing to Yuya-chan, just forget about it, okay? Tayayu just looked at him though. What if it isn't something that I want to forget about Naruto? For a moment, even if it was a slight moment, he thought that maybe she was wanting him to ask her. He thought about it though, in typical par for Naruto he second-guessed himself, deciding he was just imagining things. Tayayu could see the internal arguments that he was having with himself, but as we all know, she is not a patient person. She also isn't one that lets people deny her what she wants. While Naruto was in the middle of his internal debate, his red-headed goddess walked over and not so gently pushed him on the bed. Naruto, knowing Tayayu better than anyone, figured that it meant she was wanting them to make love. He was surprised when instead she opened his nightstand drawer and removed the box. This time though, she opened it while she held it. Naruto observed her as she just stood there for a moment staring at the ring. Tayayu then turned her attention back to him and handed him the box. Are you going to ask me or not? There was again that sound in her voice that he wasn't used to hearing. He figured that at this point there was really no reason to hide it from her, so he slid off the bed onto one knee. He was told this was the proper way to do such a thing. He never saw someone propose to another. Iruka had went through the finer points with him one day though, seeing as him and Shizune were among the first to know about their coming child. Naruto looked at the ring a bit then looked at Tayayu as she stared at him a bit. I know. He cleared his throat, it felt dry and he was nervous. After he felt he was a bit more calm he tried again. I know that, when we talked about this before you didn't want this yet. I also know that when people get pregnant they often get engaged. I don't know if it is some kind of rule or not. I don't think so since Asuma didn't ask Kurenai before he died. Irregardless, that is only part of the reason I am asking. I love you Tayayu-chan, I hope that by now you know just how much you mean to me. He slowly removed the ring from the box and reached for his red-headed girlfriend's hand. If you wanted to spend the rest of your life with me, I would be happy for the rest of my life. We would be a family, you, me and our child. I know we are young still so I can understand if you say no. I also plan to take care of Akatsuki before our child is born, so I may die there. Our child and you are my reasons for fighting now, whether you accept or not. So, if you will have me, I would like to be your husband someday soon. Tayayu watched and listened. The normally loud woman who always had something to say found herself speechless. She watched as his soul-piercing blue eyes looked at her brown eyes. He was staring at her. She then realized she hadn't answered him. She was caught up in the moment he had created. She quickly nodded her head yes, making him smile as he slipped the ring on her finger. Naruto stood up and looked at her. His curiosity had been piqued. He wanted to know what that was in her voice. He quickly kissed his now fiancée, regaining her focus as she looked at him. She could see that he wanted to know something then let out a sigh. You're going to ruin the moment, aren't you? Her reply was a foxy grin from him. She knew that was a yes in Naruto body language. With a drawn-out sigh she waved for him to ask the question. If she didn't let him ask it tortured him. She had experimented with this a couple times, maybe closer to 10. He looked at her closely. When you would ask if that meant what you thought it did, there was something in your voice. I couldn't place what the emotion was. At first I thought it was bad, but seeing as you said yes, it must have been good. Tayayu shook her head. His lack of knowledge with emotions when she found him baffled her. She smirked inwardly at that thought. She had decided a couple months ago that she found him, not he found her. It had confused Naruto for about a week until she told him, without me, you wouldn't understand a damn thing, so I found you. Amazingly enough, the blonde Jinchuriki had understood the statement. She pulled herself out of her own humorous memories to focus on the task at hand, educating her fiancé. She put her hand on his cheek. I have no idea what you are talking about. She gave him a light slap as she turned to go back to making their dinner. They were supposed to have dinner guests tonight since Naruto had made Tsunade agree to checking on her health every week. It had been a part of the agreement that they feed her then, wasn't that big a deal to them. The blonde man followed after her, but to Yuya-chan, that not fair. You know how this kind of stuff affects me. She shrugged. So he retaliated, fine then, I won't make love to you until you tell me. Tayayu turned so fast he thought that she would fall over, but fortunately for her, the hands wrapping around his throat braced her. As she proceeded to try and choke the man, there was a knock at the door. Grumbling and mumbling under her breath she released him, but not before punching him in the stomach lightly. Naruto sighed but smirked as he heard her mumbling, "Blonde bastard knocks me up then thinks he can cut me off." The redhead opened the door and let Tsunade in, "My food ready." Her eyes narrowed as she glared at Tsunade. "Well, hello to you too, Tsunade, having a good day?" "Yeah, me too, except your son is a dumb ass." The blonde Hokage looked at her then at Naruto. Perhaps the pregnancy is giving her multiple personalities. Has she always had conversations with herself? Naruto. He chose to stay quiet. He may be stupid with certain aspects, but he knew not to intervene with these two unless he had to. Then he heard the growling sound and sighed. Tayayu was glaring at Tsunade. "Stupid old hag, so fucking funny aren't you? You're not allowed to see the baby when it's born now." Tsunade turned her attention over to Tayayu for that one. "Oh. Think that you can threaten me, huh, tomato head?" Naruto could have swore that he saw fire in Tayuya's eyes. "What did you just fucking say to me?" She smirked. "You know, if you weren't knocked up I would think you were born a dude the way you talk." Tayayu went to lunge but Naruto caught her and brought her into a tight hold on his chest. "Let me go right now. I am going to murder her. Cammy is taking too long for this old bitch." Her blonde-haired lover just held her close. "Tayayu-koi, calm down. You being angry isn't good for the baby, you know." She had frozen, turned red and wide-eyed with the new honorific that he had given her. Slowly she put her arms around him and embraced him. He smiled. He liked when she was more loving than outspoken and, for lack of a better word, abusive. That was when a glimmer caught Tsunade's eye and she grabbed Taya's left hand. "Who said you two could get engaged?" The old Tayayu came back bright as ever. "Who fucking asked your opinion." Naruto sighed then went and got himself some food. "This one should last a while. I will be leaving tomorrow so it's nice to have something normal, I guess." To be continued.